Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. Coming up in the next hour, EU leaders Ursula von der Leyen and Antonio Costa to arrive in India ahead of Republic Day celebrations. India-EU FTA on cards along with defence partnership. No peace deal reached as Russia-Ukraine officials along with US delegation meet in UAE. Talks to resume today. Pressure mounts on Iran over killing of protesters as the United States imposes sanctions on its shadow fleet. Weekend winter storm inches closer to United States as several parts expected to be blanketed under snow. Emergency imposed in several states. The President of the European Council, Antonio Luis Santos da Costa, and President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, will arrive in India today. The top EU leaders will be visiting India at the invitation of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The leaders will be the chief guests at the 77th Republic Day celebrations. During the visit, the leaders will also co-chair the 16th India-EU Summit on January 27. And during the visit, President Costa and President von der Leyen will meet President Draupadi Murmu and hold restricted and delegation-level talks with Prime Minister Modi. An India-EU Business Forum is also expected to be organized on the sidelines of the India-EU Summit. India and European Union are strategic partners since 2004. The 15th India-EU Summit was held virtually on 15th of July 2020. Bilateral ties have expanded and deepened across a wide range of areas, particularly following the historic visit of EU College of Commissioners to India in February 2025. Participation of EU leaders as chief guests at the 77th Republic Day and the 16th India-EU Summit will further deepen the India-EU strategic partnership and advance collaboration in priority areas of mutual interest. The High Representative for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy and Vice President of the European Commission, Kaja Kallas, arrived in India. The visit comes at an opportune moment to further strengthen the India-EU strategic partnership, building on the momentum of regular high-level engagements. Earlier on January 21, 2026, the EU's highest-ranking diplomat, Kaja Kallas, noted that EU is among India's largest trading partners and described India as indispensable to Europe's economic resilience.
The EU and India are moving closer together at the time when the rules-based international order is under unprecedented pressure through wars, coercion and economic fragmentation. Two major democracies cannot afford to hesitate. We must become more ambitious partners.
She also announced that both India and EU agreed to sign a new security and defense partnership covering maritime security, cybersecurity and counterterrorism.
We aim to conclude negotiations on the EU-India Free Trade Agreement. This deal will open markets, remove barriers and strengthen critical supply chains in clean technologies, pharmaceuticals and semiconductors. Second, today we agreed to move forward with the signature of a new EU-India security and defence partnership in areas like maritime security, cybersecurity and counterterrorism. We will also launch negotiations on a security of information agreement. In a more dangerous world, we will both gain from working closer together. We also intend to conclude a memorandum of understanding on comprehensive framework on cooperation on mobility. This will facilitate movement for seasonal workers, students, researchers and highly skilled professionals while promoting research and innovation.
The free trade agreement between India and the European Union has reached a decisive stage. In the coming days, both sides are expected to sign this deal. This agreement is being described as the mother of all deals. On one hand, Europe will gain access to a large market like India, while on the other, Indian products will find easier access to a major part of the world. Through this report, let us explain why this agreement is being called the mother of all deals.
India and the European Union are very close to concluding a historic free trade agreement. After several years of negotiations between the two sides, this agreement has been finalized. The free trade agreement between India and EU is being described in global diplomacy and business world as the mother of all deals. The reason is not just its size, but also its economic, strategic, and geopolitical significance.
I will travel to India. There's still work to do, but we are on the cusp of a historic trade agreement. Indeed, some call it the mother of all deals. One that would create a market of 2 billion people, accounting for almost a quarter of global GDP. And crucially, that would provide a first mover advantage for Europe, with one of the world's fastest growing and most dynamic continents.
In fact, this deal is being called mother of all deals because after long negotiations, agreement has reached a decisive stage, one of the world's largest and most complex trade agreements. Agreement between two of the world's largest markets. European Union has a population of around 450 million, an economy worth more than $17 trillion. India, on the other hand, has a population of 1.4 billion and is the world's fastest growing major economy. This is not just an FTA, but a package of multiple deals. Along with the FTA, it includes aspects such as investment, digital trade, data protection, and green energy. Reaching the agreement at a decisive stage involved facing several challenges, as Europe is strict on environmental standards, labor laws, and data protection, while India has been very cautious regarding farmers, dairy sector, MSMEs, and policy autonomy. It is important to note that EU is the most regulated market in the world. Therefore, this is not just a trade agreement, but is set to become a new framework for global economy in the 21st century. Bureau Report, DD India.
As the President of the European Council, Antonio Costa, and President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, will soon be arriving in India, Ministry of External Affairs shared some of the highlights of the strategic and multifaceted India-EU relations. Union Minister for Electronics and Information Technology Ashwini Vaishnaw visited the headquarters of ASML in the Netherlands. Speaking during the visit, the minister said that India has started a new semiconductor industry and that lithography, which involves printing the circuit on the wafer, is the most complex and precision-intensive process in the entire semiconductor manufacturing chain.
When we started the semiconductor mission on 1st Jan 2022, we had taken a target that within 5 years we should start the commercial production. Very glad to say that the first commercial production will start in 2026 itself. Actually, 4 of the plants will start their commercial production in 2026. The pilot production have started already in 3 plants in 2025 itself. Now the equipment manufacturers are coming to India.
He also shared India's strength in AI, which is very consistent across the 5 layers of the AI stack.
India's strength in AI is very consistent across the 5 layers of the AI stack. Application layer, we will become the leaders. Models are today, our sovereign models are getting developed, which are very good and which have the capability of solving 95% of the problems. The committed investment, which might grow up to $150 billion as we approach the AI Impact Summit, and the final energy layer. All the 5 layers we are working very consistently.
In an effort to break the impasse, Russian, Ukrainian and US negotiators have held talks in the United Arab Emirates, the first meeting attended by all 3 countries in 4 years. Officials met in Abu Dhabi to tackle the vital issue of territory with no sign of a compromise as Russian airstrikes plunged Ukraine into its worst energy crisis of the nearly 4-year conflict. The tripartite talks brokered by the US are unfolding against a backdrop of intensified Russian strikes on Ukraine's energy system that have cut power and heating to major cities such as Kiev as temperatures dip well below freezing. However, the key sticking point in the trilateral meeting remains territorial issues, including Russia's demand that Ukraine give up the 20% of Donetsk region, which Kiev still controls. While Zelensky refused to give up land that Russia has not been able to capture in 4 years, polls show little appetite among Ukrainians for territorial concessions. Donetsk is one of 4 Ukrainian regions. Moscow said in 2022 it was annexing after referendums rejected by Kyiv and Western nations as bogus. The night sky over Kiev was illuminated by flashes and rocked by explosions as the Ukrainian capital, along with Kharkiv, came under Russian attack early Saturday. Kiev mayor said the city was facing a massive enemy attack. He later confirmed 1 person was killed and 4 others injured, with 3 victims receiving hospital treatment in Kiev and 11 people injured in Kharkiv. Head of Kiev's military administration reported strikes in at least 4 districts, with several buildings damaged, including a medical facility. Ukraine's Air Force also said both drones and missiles were used in the attack on the capital. Emergency crews continued efforts to restore services in the cities of Ukraine. And still to come on DD Indian News Hour. Prime Minister Narendra Modi distributes over 61,000 appointment letters to newly recruited youth at the 18th Rozgar Mela in New Delhi. Jammu and Kashmir authorities issue a high danger avalanche warning for 6 districts following fresh snowfall in the region.
Every time I open my wardrobe, I wonder how many of these clothes do I actually need? So today, let's step into a world where our fashion does not have to come at the cost of the environment.
We make sure that we don't waste a single piece of clothing. We use up all the scraps as well, gathering them into balls and making different products with them.
Consumers think that if they don't buy it now, they're going to regret it tomorrow.
Instead of having a linear thing where you produce something that never degrades and then you just end up having it in the landfill, you biosource it, you use it, and then it biodegrades and gets back to nature.
We use natural dyes for the garments. We extract the dye the way our ancestors did by using natural products with some modifications.
You're watching DDN News Hour. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. The United States on Friday has imposed a new series of sanctions targeting Iran's shadow fleet, said to be supporting the country's oil exports as Washington steps up pressure over the government's crackdown on protesters. In a statement, U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said the officials directly tied the sanctions on the 9 vessels and their respective owners or management firms. The department said the fleet collectively transported hundreds of millions of dollars worth of Iranian oil and petroleum products to foreign markets. The Treasury said the revenue belongs to the Iranian people but is instead diverted to fund Iran's regional terrorist proxies, weapons programs and security services instead of the basic economic services the Iranian people have bravely demanded. Meanwhile, a senior Iranian official on Friday said Iran will treat any attack as an all-out war ahead of the arrival of U.S. military aircraft carrier strike group and other assets in the Middle East in the coming days. Speaking on the condition of anonymity, officials said that the military build-up, they hope it is not intended for real confrontation as their military is ready for the worst-case scenario. Earlier, U.S. President Donald Trump said that the United States has an armada heading towards Iran, but hoped he would not have to use it as he renewed warnings to Tehran against killing protesters or restarting its nuclear program. The United Nations Human Rights Council on Friday passed a motion extending an independent probe into human rights abuses in Iran and called for an urgent inquiry into the violent crackdown by authorities on protesters. The 47-member body voiced alarm about the unprecedented scale of the violent crackdown on peaceful protests by security forces in Iran. With 25 votes in favor, 7 opposed and the rest abstaining, it decided to extend and broaden the mandate of independent investigators gathering evidences towards ensuring accountability for rights violations in the country. During an emergency session of the Human Rights Council, the UN rights chief urged Iran on Friday to end its brutal repression of protests.
I call on the Iranian authorities to reconsider, to pull back and to end their brutal repression, including summary trials and disproportionate sentences. I call for the immediate release of all those arbitrarily detained by the Iranian authorities. And I call for a complete moratorium on the death penalty. I urge the government to end the internet and communications shutdown and to stop using this as a systematic practice.
Due to the geopolitical situation, at least 2 European airlines suspended flights to cities in the West Asia on Friday, with Air France saying it will temporarily stop service to Dubai. While according to the Netherlands state broadcaster, Dutch airline KLM also halted flights until further notice to cities in the Middle East and would not fly through the airspace of several countries in the region, including Iraq and Iran. In Pakistan, at least 5 people were killed and 10 others injured in a suicide blast during a wedding at the residence of a peace committee member in northwestern Khyber Pakhtunkhwa on Friday. The explosion occurred during the wedding at the residence of the Dera Ismail Khan Peace Committee chief, identified as Noor Alam Mehsood. Pakistan's northern Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province, where Dera Ismail Khan is located, has battled a resurgence of terrorists' activities carried out primarily by the terror group Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. The Pakistani government has blamed the Afghan Taliban for providing a safe haven to TTP terrorists, saying they use Afghan soil to plan their strikes on targets in Pakistan, while Afghan government has denied the charges, saying Pakistan's security is an internal problem. Bangladesh Nationalist Party Secretary General Mirza Fakhrul has described Jamaat-e-Islami as a threat to Bangladesh's national security, citing the party's opposition to 1971 Liberation War. Speaking at an election street rally in Thakurgaon, Fakhrul said the country could not be safe in the hands of forces that did not want the birth of Bangladesh. Contesting from the Thakurgaon 1 constituency. The BNP leader said his party remains a proven political force committed to the spirit of independence and has worked extensively for national development. Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Saturday distributed over 61,000 appointment letters to newly recruited youth at the 18th Rozgar Mela held in New Delhi. Addressing the program virtually, the Prime Minister said the appointment letters were an invitation to nation building and reminded the youth of their duty towards the Constitution.
युवाओं को कौशल से जोड़ना और उन्हें रोजगार स्वरोजगार के अवसर देना, ये हमारी सरकार की प्राथमिकता रही है। सरकारी भर्तियों को भी कैसे मिशन मोड पर किया जाए, इसके लिए रोजगार मेले की शुरुआत की गई थी। बीते वर्षों में रोजगार मेला एक इंस्टीट्यूशन बन गया है। इसके जरिए लाखों युवाओं को सरकार के अलग अलग विभागों में नियुक्ति पत्र मिल चुके हैं।
President Draupadi Murmu greeted people of Uttar Pradesh on their statehood day and expressed confidence that it will continue to advance on the path of continuous progress. On X, she wrote, and I quote, "I wish for a bright future for the hard-working and talented people of this state," unquote. Uttar Pradesh was earlier known as the United Provinces. On January 24, 1950, it was recognized as Uttar Pradesh. Prime Minister Narendra Modi congratulated the people of Uttar Pradesh on their Foundation Day, highlighting their invaluable contributions to the richness of Indian culture and heritage, praising the rise of Uttar Pradesh from Vimaru to an exemplary state. PM Modi expressed confidence in the state's potential, proving immensely valuable in keeping the nation's progress dynamic. A major winter storm is moving east across the United States, triggering emergency alerts and preparations from Atlanta to Washington, D.C. Heavy snow began falling in parts of Texas and Oklahoma as powerful Arctic storm spread across the country. The U.S. National Weather Service said over 150 million Americans are under weather emergency alerts. At least 14 U.S. states and Washington, D.C. have declared a state of emergency, with authorities preparing for icy roads, power outages and extreme cold. Forecasters warned the storm could bring up to 36 centimeters of snow in parts of Ohio Valley and mid-Atlantic, while Washington, D.C., New York and Boston may receive 4 to 8 inches of snow by Sunday. On to some global weather updates. First from India. Fresh western disturbances brought snowfall to the hills and rain to the plains, ending a prolonged dry spell across North India. Heavy snowfall covered parts of Kashmir Valley, including Kulgam, Srinagar and Anantnag, while Shimla and Manali received the season's first snow. Meanwhile, in the plains, Delhi, Haryana, Rajasthan and parts of Punjab saw light to moderate rain, lowering temperatures and easing pollution levels. Jammu and Kashmir authorities have issued a high danger avalanche warning for 6 districts following fresh snowfall in the region. Avalanches are likely above 2,300 meters in Ganderbal district of central Kashmir. A high danger avalanche alert has also been issued for areas above 2,500 meters in Doda, Kishtwar, Poonch and Ramban in the Jammu region and Kupwara in North Kashmir. Residents have been advised to remain cautious and avoid avalanche-prone zones. Also, Jammu-Srinagar National Highway, NH44, Mughal Road, SSG Road and Sinthan Road are still closed. People are advised not to travel on these roads until they are completely restored and declared safe for traffic. Residents in Jammu and Kashmir and surrounding North Indian hilly regions are celebrating as the season's first snowfall have finally broken a prolonged, severe dry spell. The famous hill resorts in Jammu and Kashmir's Bhaderwa and Gando areas of Doda district experienced the snowfall, thereby not only ending a long dry or drought season, but also bringing cheers to all dependent on the tourism industry. The snowfall transformed Baderwa's roads and streets into a white blanket, adding to the charm of the town. People in Lado, Rajpura and the Rai areas of Gando subdivision were seen rejoicing the heavy snowfall after long time, and said that finally the dry season has ended and acute water scarcity which they were facing, in fact, will finally end. Amidst inclement weather and heavy snowfall in Jammu and Kashmir's Udhampur district, a police team rescued 12 individuals, including women and children, who were stranded at Chochru Gala in the upper ridges of the Basantgarh area. The operation was initiated after information was received at the Sang police post, leading a team to trek several kilometers through snow-covered and foggy terrain. The rescue was carried out under challenging conditions as many parts of the region continue to witness heavy snowstorms. The police team, led by local officials, successfully navigated the difficult terrain to ensure the safety of all stranded persons. The decade of transformation in the defence forces, battle array formation and bonding between the European Union would echo loud on the Kartavya Path. The success of Operation Sindoor would lead the spirit of Republic Day parade on 26th of January. Vishal Barrister finds out more with the parade commander, who is also the General Officer commanding Delhi area.
Operation Sindoor, battle array. This year's Republic Day parade is going to be very, very special. And moreover, the GOC of Delhi will be having his hat trick. This is the third time that he is going to lead the parade. I have with me General Officer commanding Delhi area, Lieutenant General Bhavnish Kumar. Let's talk to him and find out. Sir, first of all, congratulations for your third time you are leading the parade. Operation Sindoor is going to echo very loud in this parade. So tell us about that.
Thank you very much, Vishal. I'm very fortunate, it's a rare honor that I'm getting this opportunity to command this parade for the third time. And you are right, this is the first Republic Day parade after a very successful Operation Sindoor, in which, we had a decisive victory and we showed that what a strong nation we are. Within that span of 87 hours, we had, got the enemy down to its knees. And so everyone is looking forward to this parade. And in this parade, we would also get that sense of how the operation unfolded, what all, equipment was used, and how it was an integrated joint operation by three services. And we are also, showcasing a couple of tableaus in this, which will be able to give insight to the all the viewers as to how that operation took place within those 87 odd hours.
So this year, the military officers of the European Union would also be part of the parade. So how has been your experience with them since you've already done a full dress rehearsal?
So we had a lovely interaction during the full dress rehearsal. And firstly, when soldier to soldier connect is beautiful. It doesn't take much time to, mesh with each other. And so they participated in our parade. We are fortunate we are having chief guests, coming from the EU, 2 chief guests this time. And so we have, there are 4 flags being paraded on the Kartavya Path along with our parade. One is the European Union flag, which is a very beautiful flag of 12, golden stars with a blue black background. And then we have European Union military staff flag.
So there you hear the GOC Delhi. All preparations have been put in place and the army is ready to put up its best foot forward. With cameraman Uttam in Delhi, this is Vishal Barrister for DD India.
And still to come on DD India News Hour. We will discuss in detail regarding the stronger India-EU ties as EU leaders set to arrive in India with FTA and Defence Pact on the table.
One of India's newest states, one of India's oldest lands. Jharkhand is a hidden
Take a front seat to witness the grandeur.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I am Siddharth Bharadwaj, and in the changing landscape of global trade, India is once again set to take a major step forward. Negotiations that began in 2007 are finally taking the shape of an agreement in 2026. After nearly 2 decades of long and complex discussions, India and the European Union are on the threshold of finalizing a free trade agreement which will give a new direction to their economic relationship. Here's a report.
Amid changing global trade equations, the speed with which India has finalized free trade agreements over the past 4 years has drawn worldwide attention. India and the European Union are expected to move towards signing a similar free trade agreement on January 27th. Under this agreement, India and the European Union will make access to each other's markets easier. Once implemented, Indian products are expected to gain access to European Union countries at low or zero tariffs. Similarly, European Union products will receive comparable facilities in the Indian market. The objective with which the foundation of this agreement was laid nearly 2 decades ago now appears close to realization. What began in 2007 is taking concrete shape in 2026, further enhancing its historical significance. Formal negotiations on the India-European Union FTA began in 2007 when both sides launched it as the Broad-Based Trade and Investment Agreement. The initiative primarily came from the EU, which sought to promote trade and investment in view of India's rapidly growing economy and market. India also showed interest as the EU was India's largest trading partner at the time. The agreement aimed to cover goods, services, investment, technology transfer, and regulatory cooperation. From 2007 to 2013, several rounds of talks were held, but disagreements caused the process to stall. In 2022, negotiations resumed, mainly due to global geopolitical shifts such as the Ukraine crisis and US-China trade tensions, which somewhat eased the path forward. Subsequently, continuous high-level dialogue and meetings between Prime Minister of India and the top leadership of the European Union gave new momentum to the process. However, several sensitive and complex issues emerged during the FTA negotiations. The most significant among these was trade balance, as India feared that easier market access for European products could negatively impact its domestic industries. Differences also arose over tariffs on agricultural products and textiles. India wants better opportunities for its agricultural and textile products in the European market, while the European Union has remained cautious about protecting its farmers and domestic producers. In addition, issues such as access in the investment and services sectors, data protection, and regulatory standards remain central to the talks. The European Union emphasized data privacy and a strict regulatory framework, while for India, the issue was linked to domestic policy and digital sovereignty. Along with this, European Union also expected reforms from India regarding social standards related to environmental and labor rights. Despite all these challenges, both sides have consistently given high priority to this agreement. As a result, today, both sides are set to finalize the historic pact. Bureau Report, DT India.
All right, and joining us on the broadcast today is Professor Gulshan Sachdeva, School of International Studies, JNU. Sir, a very warm welcome to DD India News Hour. When you talk about the diplomatic ties between EU and India, they trace back to early 1960s. And definitely we'll talk about the mother of all deals. But, to begin with, sir, from the first India-EU summit in 2000 and now to the 16th summit between the two, how do you assess the relationship between India and the EU?
Well, I think the relationship has definitely transformed. And as you rightly mentioned, India was the first country to recognize at that time the European Economic Community in the 60s. And since then we have progressed. In the 90s, when the things change, when the world, with the end of the Cold War, I think the convergences arose between India and the European Union, because the European Union was also expanding. European Union also had very important, ambitious projects. They introduced single currency from 15 countries. They became 28 before Brexit. And the worldview of a democratic world, multicultural world, a multipolar world, somehow both, I think it's coincided. And then, we started this, first the business summits, and then from 2000, the summits, and then in 2004, when we had
strategic partnership. Yeah.
And then later on, we also had a joint action plan. And then from 2007, we had FTA negotiation, as your report mentioned, after many rounds in 2013 because of different ambitions. The negotiation frozen. But even when the negotiations were frozen, at least on the trade, but then we started moving into many other areas.
Right.
Today we have close to 50 different kind of dialogues happening with the European Union. And, this covers, agriculture to urbanization, to maritime security, to renewable sector.
Right.
To so many other areas in which we are working with the European Union.
Right.
Both at the EU level and also at the member state level. We had not just, strategic partnership with the European Union. We also had strategic partnership with the Germany, France, and also with UK. And more recently, we have also signed, strategic partnership with Italy, with the Greece, and also with Poland. And then later on, we also had, when we started in 2021, when the Prime Minister met all 27 leaders of the European Union. So we had this connectivity partnership as well. And then the roadmap was there, roadmap 25, which is completing now. And then we are going to adopt a new roadmap 2030 by the summit, when the summit is going to take place. So many other areas. But of course, the core of this relationship and the competency of the European Union, it's in the area of trade, investment. So obviously, European Union being India's largest trading partner with close to 2 billion, trade in goods and services, and also a major investor. So obviously, FTA is a very important thing.
It is.
But we are also moving into other areas. We are also going to sign, perhaps, also
defense and security partnership.
By the Foreign Policy Chief on security and defense partnership.
You're absolutely right.
The partnership has really expanded. Yes.
Yeah, definitely, and it has transformed, like you just said. So this indeed is a good sign. When we talk about already strengthened relation between India and the EU, like I was just mentioning, they are not new. They trace back to early 1960s. Both are expected to hold talks on various domains. You also mentioned that there are different areas, with FTA between the two being called as the mother of all deals. Do you also agree to it, the mother of all deals? And if you do, sir, why?
Well, mother of all deals, this was mentioned actually by our Commerce and Industry Minister, Piyush Goyal.
Right.
And this was also echoed by the European Commission President, Ursula von der Leyen.
Yeah.
So it means mother of all deals. One is that, these are two large democracies.
Right.
Two large economies. Indian economy may not be as big as the European Union, but still we have 1.4 billion people and very large middle class, one of the fastest growing large economy. So India has also clearly identified, and it's an ambition to become a Viksit Bharat developed economy by 2047.
Yeah.
That in the areas of trade, investment, technology, and in green transition. I think the European Union and its member states are really important partners. And similarly, from the European side, many things are happening. They have the problem in the transatlantic alliance. Similarly, Brexit happened, so Britain moved out.
Yeah.
And then, in the Asia earlier, they were quite focused on Chinese economy. They're still quite deeply engaged with the Chinese economy. But now, they are becoming very cautious, suspicious about the way they do deals with China. So they are looking for alternative. European companies are looking for alternative. So I think many of those geopolitical factors and economic factors, and they have kind of converged, and that's what perhaps would lead to FTA signing. Looks like at least the conclusion of the FTA negotiations. and
signing might done
both the countries. And this is to some extent is also very, very geopolitical, because as we have seen in the last few days, I mean, the tension between the United States and Europe, I mean, they were so very close allies, but because of the Greenland, a lot of things are happening.
Yeah.
And of course, with Russia, they have a very serious problems. And China, there are concerns. And we are also working very closely with them in the Indo-Pacific. You know, they feel that India is a very important player in the Indo-Pacific. And they also came out with their own Indo-Pacific strategy, and many of the member states of the EU also their own Indo. So there, and in fact, you know, we are also not just working bilaterally. You know, if the earlier roadmap also, and now also it has been clearly perhaps is going to be identified, and this was also identified with the India-EU connectivity partnership. You know, we also have to work in other third countries or third areas together, particularly development sector, in the renewable sector. You know, earlier we identified basically Central Asia, Africa, and the Indo-Pacific, and now even in the new strategy which came out a couple of months back, again, and the earlier strategy was 2018. The new strategy, again, the European Union have said that we can work in South Asia, Indo-Pacific, and in Africa. So there are so many areas in which I think convergences are taking place, and since you know
and certainly the partnership between the two is actually flourishing, like you just mentioning. With both India and the EU are also expected to sign security and defense partnership. According to you, how important would that be? And also, is it also sending a message to the global world, you know, when the tariff threats are looming large in the global world?
Well, obviously this is going to send a message to everyone. But more than messaging, in fact, you know, I mean, in the defense and security, you know, earlier we used to work mainly with the member states of the European Union, because, you know, the foreign policy area is more of intergovernmental cooperation within the European Union. We had a strong partnership, of course, with France. Also earlier when the UK was part of this, and also with Germany and with other players. But now in the last 10-15 years, there's a lot of coordination is happening on defense and security within the European Union. This we have seen actually in the case of Ukraine war, and also in the case of Greenland. In fact, you know, you can see that there is of course, it's very difficult to come to easy consensus when you have 27 members, but still a lot of coordination is taking place. And I think the defense and security partnership, which is going to be, you know, they have clearly identified both sides 3 areas. One is maritime security, in which we have already been working for many years. Second is about cyber defense. Now in the cyber area, again, you know, a lot of coordination is taking place within the European Union and also with other countries. And then the third thing is also about the counter-radicalization and counter-terrorism. So where I think there is already a lot of things are happening within the European Union at the EU level, at the union level, and then they can really work with us. And I think another area again, which has become very important between India and the EU, is migration and mobility. Since, you know, a lot of things have happened at the EU level, but since migration is competencies are in the member state level, so we have signed agreement on migration and mobility with Germany, with France, with Italy, with Denmark and other countries. So all these things are happening bilaterally, and also things which you can do with the union level. I think this will be reflected during this meeting as well.
Definitely, and it's a very, very significant visit by the European leaders, and the partnership which is already strengthened between India and EU will flourish in future as well, with FTA and Defence and Security Pact on the table. Thank you so much, sir, for joining in on DD India News. Thank you. Let's take a look at other stories making news now. At least one person was injured after a fire broke out at a tourist guest house in Srinagar's busy Dalgate area on Saturday morning. A special team of Special Dog Squad of Fire and Emergency Services was brought in to investigate for the presence of any bodies or inflammable material. The waterbird population census began in Thoothukudi district in Tamil Nadu. Forest Department officials and volunteers are conducting the survey across wetlands and coastal areas. The census aims to assess bird numbers, species diversity and habitat health. Findings will help in conservation planning and wildlife protection efforts. And still to come on DD Indian News Hour. India lay down maker for ICC T20 World Cup. Ishan Kishan and captain Surya Kumar Yadav chased down New Zealand's 208 with ease.
Can the US launch a bombing campaign against Iran? The Philippines vessel suffered structural damage. The saga of child sexual abuse is the United States China's debt trap strategy. Truth is stranger than fiction. But sometimes hard to uncover. Trust us to tell the truth, unadulterated and pure, of every story that matters to you. You read between the lines, cut the clutter, and connect the dots to get you the full picture. Watch Connecting the Dots at these times with me, only on
You're watching DD Indian News Hour. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj, and time now for some sports news. Sensational knocks by skipper Surya Kumar Yadav and Ishan Kishan powered India to a dominating 7-wicket win over New Zealand in the second T20I in Raipur on Friday. Ahead of the all-important T20 World Cup, Surya Kumar surged back to form with a fiery 82, while Kishan justified his national recall with a sensational 32 ball 76. India gunned down the 209-run target with ease even after losing both openers by the second over of the chase. Surya Kumar remained unbeaten along with Shivam Dube, whose 36-run cameo helped India cross the finish line in just 15.2 overs. India became the first full-member team in the world to chase down a 200-plus target in T20Is with more than 25 balls to spare. India doubled their lead to 2-0 in the 5-match series. All right, and DD India's Narayan Singh joins us live from the studio. Hi Narayan, a very good afternoon to you. I mean, this is something every cricket fan wanted to see. When Indian batters coming onto the pitch, coming onto the greens, coming onto the middle, and just smashing the bowlers. And this is how actually do you analyze this when you have T20 World Cup next month?
Siddharth, if we talk about this win, it shows that what the modern T20 batters can do. Take a look when India started their innings, it was 6 runs for the loss of 2 wickets, and after that our batter Ishan Kishan and Surya Kumar Yadav just laid down the marker and scored, we can say that with a stupendous strike rate, and Ishan Kishan scored 72 runs with a strike rate of more than 237, and Surya Kumar Yadav, the skipper, scoring 82 runs with a strike rate of 221. It shows that what our modern day batters are capable of, and that with after around 5 overs to spare and with 7 wickets are left. So it shows that our team is capable, and they showed the intent, what kind of cricket they are playing in the T20 format. Right now, if you take a look, they are the most consistent team in the most inconsistent format, because it is highly unpredictable. Even the weaker teams can win in the T20 format.
You're
but
right.
If you take a look, their record after the T20 World Cup, when they won the T20 World Cup in 2024 in June, their win-loss record is of 30 against 5. They won 30 matches and lost only 5 matches, and 2 matches they won the super over. So great intent was shown by the your Indian team ahead of the T20 World Cup that will took place in India and Sri Lanka next month, in the month of February. The first match will be on February 7. So it's a good sign and a clear warning to other teams that India is notches above everyone, and the kind of cricket they are playing, and Ishan Kishan. And if you take a look, we have a destructive opening batters like Abhishek Sharma as well as Sanju Samson. Yesterday they failed to fire, but so most important thing I think here is the form of Suryakumar Yadav. Last year he was out of runs, and he said that he is out of run, he is not out of form. And in the first match only he showed the glimpse that he is just close to that form that fans wanted to see. In the first match he scored 32, and here with a stupendous strike rate he scored fantastic 82 knock of 82 runs, and that helped India to win the match. And this is India's joint highest successful chase in the T20 after losing 2 wickets in the initial stages of the match.
You're right, Narayan. Team India has a very destructive opening batting lineup, especially the batting lineup in all when we say. But one thing which I want to ask you is that this is not even the beginning when you're talking about the T20 World Cup, which is there in the month of February, which is next month. And consistency should be the key. Sometimes we have seen that due to overconfidence, you end up losing the matches. So in what all areas do they need to focus when it comes to the preparations ahead of the T20 World Cup? Because it's a very crucial World Cup, and like you've just rightly mentioned, that it is the most inconsistent format when it comes to cricket. So what all areas do they need to focus on?
Siddharth, if you take a look, if we talk about this Indian team, especially in this format, this is somewhat, we can say, the invincible team. If you leave apart the ODIs and the test matches where India lost, if you take a look to this New Zealand team, with a span of the 1 year, they lost last year the test series, and recently before this T20 series they lost the ODI series. But in this format of the game, we can say that, as earlier I mentioned, they are the most consistent team in the most inconsistent format of the game. Because the way the kind of batters they are playing at the different level. They are enjoying the success of each other. Yesterday you have seen the match after Ishan Kishan lost his wicket. When he was going back, everyone was so happy about Ishan Kishan's knock and his the way he performed. And when this camaraderie is there in the team, I think it is difficult to beat that team. And we know that cricket is all about team game, just cheering others' performance. Exactly that is happening in our Indian cricket, especially in the T20 format right now. And apart from the bowling, we can say there's a bit concern for the team India, because that is Jasprit Bumrah is also not up to the mark. We know that what kind of impact he brought on the table. If you take a look at the previous World Cup where India won the World Cup in the final against South Africa, it was the Jasprit Bumrah towards the end of the match. He controlled the match, and I think Bumrah is a bit out of form.
So they need to work on bowling department, right? This is what you're trying to say.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
The team camaraderie which is there has to be there till the time, I mean, it has to be there every time, but especially when you're talking about the T20 World Cup. So this is the department you're saying that Team India needs to work on, and consistency is the key, like I always say, and overconfidence will be the most lethal weapon if they will take it from here. We have more matches remaining as far as the series is concerned. Let's hope they come out with flying colours in this one. But thank you so much for your wonderful analysis, Narayan. Thank you. Figure skating, one of the most graceful and technically demanding Olympic winter sports, made its debut at the 6th edition of the Khelo India Winter Games. Combining athletic strength with artistic expression, the sport has opened new doors for young Indian skaters aiming for international recognition. Here's a report. Have a look.
Known for its blend of athletic skill and artistic expression, figure skating is opening new avenues for India's winter athletes. Figure skating is an Olympic winter sport that blends power, balance, flexibility, speed and artistry. Athletes perform choreographed routines on ice, set to music, showcasing a series of technical and artistic elements. These include high-flying jumps like the axel, along with spins, footwork and step sequences that demand years of disciplined training.
Figure skating is all about deep edges and outside edges, and the skates, it's like a thin blade, and we have to perform many different elements like jumps and spins and also step choreography while being graceful and resilient, and the judges evaluate us on the basis of the difficulty we do and the choreography and the aesthetic appeal we give to them.
One of the oldest Olympic sports, figure skating has been part of the Winter Olympics since 1908. Globally, skaters begin training at a very young age, mastering both athletic precision and artistic performance. For the first time, Indian skaters are competing under standardized national rules and professional judging systems. Judging in figure skating is based on two key components: technical elements and artistic impression.
Yeah, this is going to be the greatest platform for all the skaters to attend the next highest levels of championship in Winter Games. This is most valuable competition all the skaters would attend till now.
With the inclusion of figure skating in the Khelo India Winter Games, young athletes from across the country are now dreaming bigger, aiming not just for national medals, but for international podiums.
The inclusion of figure skating at the Khelo India Winter Games signals a clear shift in aligning India's winter sports ecosystem with global standards. The move reflects government's intent to expand winter sports and create a structured pathway for Indian athletes to compete globally. In Leh with cameraman Jagmohan, Abhishek Prasad, DD India.
That's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms, and you can scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.